I've been in touch with NHS England, who asked me what I knew about the surgeries. The upshot was I spoke to a lady who said she was head of patient voice. I left school at 14 and became a messenger boy at a Fleet Street photographic agency. I got the job through the boys' club that I belonged to. I joined this boys' club at the age of 12 when I could in 1938. And I suppose that gave me my first association with community life. I stayed with the club and I got a job through one of the club boys who worked in Fleet Street. Although I left school at 14, I was able to write. And I started to write sort of photo stories for a BBC magazine called London Calling. And then I decided that Fleet Street was too tough a world, too competitive, too many photographers. And so I decided to concentrate on my journalism and I became a freelance journalist. And I had a bent for industry and I was recruited by the Daily Mail to become first of all industrial correspondent and then I became industrial editor and I worked there until 1972. So I was involved in all the big industrial disputes in the late 60s and early 70s. I think it was listening, absorbing what people were telling me, and always trying to win their confidence so that you could telephone them late at night, speak to their wives and see if you could get through to big trade union leaders. They were big people in those days. They were important people. You know, thrilling time, you know. You had the front page every day. I was broadcasting regularly on the Today programme, twice or three times a week. I used to go to Broadcasting House. I stayed in Fleet Street until 1972. I was then approached by the then Beecham Group to become head of their communications department. And I always had thoughts about pensions. And so when the approach came from the Beecham Group to join them with a then non-contributory pension scheme, I jumped at the opportunity. It was a great opportunity to see the world and make a contribution to industry. Having written about industry all my life, here was an opportunity to make a difference. When I decided to retire from the Beecham Group, I kept in contact with a number of my Fleet Street colleagues, and together we formed a public relations consultancy that lasted until 1999. Yeah, there's no meetings that I know of at Holbrook House except a primary care implementation board on the 23rd. I mean, some people retire and say they're not going to do anything. They put up a brick wall completely and decide right from the outset they're not going to do anything, no matter who approaches them, what skills they have, what experience they have, they're not going to do anything.
But I hope to be flexible.
I clearly needed to look for something that would occupy my mind and use what skills I developed. My wife has always been associated with AIDS concern at that time, and we got a bulletin from them that talked about a pensioners forum in Enfield, and I went along, and I think within 2 meetings I became the chairman. There are, as far as we know, still 8 surgeries in Enfield using 0844. Two we know of. I suppose we get involved in campaigning in order to improve the quality of life of older people, and it's any and every issue that comes up. I write the newsletter, and that has been the source of publicising the work of the forum. So that's a big task. I had concentrate for 2 weeks or more on producing the copy for that newsletter. Well, at the executive, Tom, I raised the question that Osborne said the basic state pension will be outside the welfare cap. I don't see it as a duty. I see it as making a contribution to the good life that I've had the good fortune to have. I think of putting something back. The world has changed in such a way that we've got to change with it. We've got to be active. If we're going to be retired for 30 years, we can't just sit and watch the television for 30 years. We've got to contribute to society. We've got to do something for ourselves. I do think it's important, but giving you something to concentrate on, to have the mind working creatively of what you're going to do today that is going to be beneficial to you, to your family, to the community, to the company you work for, rather than just laying back. I mean, to be in a home where 3 generations have not worked, father, grandfather, children, it must be soul destroying. But you have to enjoy the job that you're doing. You have to feel motivated to go to work, to get up and do that sort of thing.
When they have the patient participation,
It's been part of me. I can't explain it. I just wake up and feel I've got to do something.